Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, we'll be analyzing the poem Growing Old by Mathew Arnold. What is it to grow old? Is it to lose the glory of the form, the luster of the eye? Is it for beauty to forego her wreath? Yes, but not this alone. So, growing old is exactly what its title suggests it to be. The first stanza lays out the theme clearly. And what is it? It is about growing old. Okay, so the first stanza lays out the theme clearly in a lesson like style. And the speaker begins with three rhetorical questions. What are these rhetorical questions? Number one, what is it to grow old? Is it to lose the glory of the form, the luster of the eye? And is it for beauty to forego her wreath? So the speaker asks first what old is like, and then whether it fulfills popular stereotypes or not. So does old age mean losing the glory of one's form or body? Does it mean losing the luster or gleam of alertness in one's eyes? This second question might also hint at loss of eyesight, since some vision problems such as cataract can cause the eyes to water or cloud over. Does it mean giving up the metaphorical victory wreath of beauty, as other younger people assume the honor of being considered beautiful? In short, does old age mean that your physical grace, alertness, or eyesight and sex appeal deteriorate? These questions are followed by a blunt, ominous answer. Yes, but not this alone. So in other words, all these stereotypes, all these cliches about aging are true. But there is more to the story than that. Only these are not the things that happen, but there are more than this that happens. So Matthew Arnold was only in middle age when he wrote the poem. So the speaker may or may not literally be the poet himself. Okay. Is it to feel our strength, not our bloom only, but our strength decay? Is it to feel each limb grow stiffer, every function less exact, each nerve more loosely strung? Now, lines 6 to 10, they pose more rhetorical questions about aging. First, the speaker asks whether age weakens the body. Is it to feel our strength, not our bloom only, but our strength decay? Okay? Is it to feel our strength and not our bloom only, but our strength decay? Okay? What does this mean? Yani कि whether age weakens the body or not. Whether do we lose the strength of our body or not. Whether we get weak or not by the time we grow old. So the bloom here is the metaphorical freshness and vitality of youth. That will inevitably fade, of course, but the speaker questions whether physical strength will decay as well. Huh? Chalo bhai, the glow and vitality and the freshness of youth will fade, but with that, would my strength also fade? Notice how the two seizures in line 7, as well as the repetition of our strength, cause the sentence to slow and stagger a little, as if it too were growing weaker. The speaker wonders about other changes too. Okay, so the over here, the speaker is talking about the seventh line, not our bloom only, pause, but our strength, pause, decay. Okay, so there is, excuse me. So these two caesaras, they are making the sentence slow. Okay, and then this repetition of strength. Okay, and are both of these also, they force the reader to ponder over it. Therefore, this repetition is also making the poem go slow. Therefore, it suggests that the movement and the mobility of the poem is becoming slower. Therefore, it is becoming weaker. The speaker wonders about other changes too. Will age make each limb grow stiffer? That is, will it bring muscle stiffness and joint pain? Will age make every bodily and mental function less exact? Will each nerve become more loosely strung, yani कि will aging wear on our nerves and dull our perceptions? Would it do that? Again, these questions are coming out of nowhere. They are common conceptions about the aging process. These are not new questions. These are common things which we listen about. So these are common conceptions about the aging process, problems that many real life older people have reported throughout the ages. So the poem seems to be asking rhetorically not whether these problems are possible, but whether they're inevitable. The questions are rhetorical. He's not saying whether these problems are possible or not. Okay, na? Are they inevitable or not? Yani कि it is already a universal, a universally accepted fact that these things are going to happen. So these questions are being asked only rhetorically. It isn't that the speaker is in a way doubting that whether it is possible or not, doubting whether it is inevitable or not, because we know that this is going to happen and it is inevitable. The following stanzas, they answer these questions, delivering no good in the process. Abhi to these are only questions in this stanza, but we're going to get the answers of these rhetorical questions later on. By now, the poem has already established its form. It is unrhymed fine 5 line stanzas. Okay, unrhymed 5 line stanzas that alternate between shorter, yani ke trimeter, and longer pentameter lines. This alternation makes the stanzas themselves seem to stagger a bit, just as siegeras stagger the movement of individual lines, and much as age disrupts the body's movements. In the same way, this trimeter, sorry, this alternation between trimeter and pentameter also causes or disrupts the movement of the poem, just like the age disrupts the body movements, just like the siegeras disrupt the movement of the line. So the lack of rhyme, there is rhythm, there is trimeter, but iams and alternation between trimeter and pentameter rhymes, but there is no rhyme scheme. This is known as blank verse. The lack of rhyme gives the language a fairly plain surface, appropriate to a speaker who means to tell the exact truth. मजाक की बात नहीं हो रही, music की बात नहीं हो रही. He wants to tell you the fair and simple and common and plain exact truths. Okay. Okay. Yes, this and more, but not. Ah, it is not what in youth we dreamed it would be. It is not to have our life mellowed and softened as with sunset glow, a golden day's decline. In the third stanza, the speaker claims that all the negative rumors about aging are true, and then begins to shoot down all the positive ones as well. Following the rhetorical questions of line 6 and 10, which ask whether age really weakens the body, the speaker responds with an emphatic yes. Ah, bhai, yes. So all this deterioration and more, he says, will plague us in our senior years. But the problem is worse than that because there is no good news to balance out the bad. Old age, the speaker laments, is not what in youth we dreamed it would be. In other words, it doesn't live up to our naive, youthful hopes. Yani ke, when we are young, we believe, we think that we are going to live a very relaxing phase of our life when we are old. Okay, and our lives would be very peaceful, very relaxed. We're going to live a dream life of retirement. So these conceptions in the youth about the old age are also going to be wrong. That's what he's trying to claim. Okay, यानी कि negative rumors तो है ही हैं. Okay, but in this stanza he's shooting out the positive ones as well. Notice that the we pronoun here implies that the speaker's own youth is behind him. In other words, he's speaking from the bitter experience. The speaker, okay, not the writer, not the poet. This one, we dreamed our life. Okay. So again, the speaker warns, doesn't leave. Again, the speaker warns and doesn't leave our life mellowed and softened as with sunset glow. Nor does the whole process feel like a golden day's decline. Okay, na? So, what is he trying to suggest? The speaker is trying to warn us that our lives are not going to get mellowed and softened just like the sunset glow. Okay, how peaceful is that time of sunset when it is when it is setting. Okay, the glow is very peaceful. Okay, and nor does the whole process feel like a golden day's decline. ऐसा भी नहीं है भाई, it's going to be the decline of a golden day. So these lines point toward and mock a set of sentimental cliches about aging, which persist to this day. It is mocking, it is refuting those sentimental cliches about aging. Ke bhai, it is going to be somewhat a peaceful, a relaxed phase of life. So in Arnold's times, just as now, the years of old age and retirement was sometimes called golden years or compared to the sunset of one's life. The speaker insists that these popular metaphors are lies. Old age isn't beautiful, okay, and it isn't pleasant, okay, or emotionally mellow at all. In fact, the poem's final stanzas will portray it as a kind of nightmare. Okay, so it is going to completely reject these ideas, these cliches, these perspectives about old age. It is not to see the world as from a height with rapt prophetic eyes and heart profoundly stirred and weep and feel the fullness of the past. The years are no more. Now, these lines 16 to 20, they continue to shoot down and reject all the cliches about old age. Though through an extended simile, the speaker rose the idea that aging offers some sort of superior vantage point on life. It is not to see the world as from a height. ऐसा नहीं है that you will be very experienced and you will be looking at the world from a height through prophetic eyes and heart profoundly stirred and weep and feel the fullness of the past. The years are no more. The years are that no more. So, in other words, old age isn't like looking down on the rest of the world with the wisdom of a prophet. It doesn't leave you wrapped, yani it doesn't leave you spellbound with profound insight or emotion. Yani it doesn't mean that in the old age you're going to be filled with very deep insight or emotion. It doesn't even leave you nostalgically weeping for the past. It's not that you're going to be weeping for the past. Registering the full value and meaning of the years that are no more. Notice how the anaphora in these lines, the repetition of and, it evokes a surge of deep emotion even as the speaker claims it won't happen. So Arnold isn't exactly the first one to deny that old age gives us prophetic insight. Many other previous literary works have suggested that age and wisdom don't automatically go together. Yani कि to be wise is not necessary to be old. Yani कि it's not necessary that when you're going to grow old, you're going to become wise as well. Okay, so these two do not go automatically hand in hand. Okay, but it is unusual to deny that age makes us nostalgic. This is unusual because it does actually sometimes we do feel about our young age when we feel nostalgic. But according to him and according to this poem, it is it isn't the case. Okay, now, as he said over here that and weep and feel the fullness of the past. It's not that you're going to be weeping and feeling the fullness of the past, the years that are no more. The past about those years, your youth, which is not anymore. Okay, so it is in that case. So this is unusual and justifying this very much. What would I say? Intuitive claim of ours of readers, and by countering it, he claims by by justifying our intuition, yani कि our cliched idea about this, and he is trying to suggest that this is not the case. But but it isn't. I mean, obviously you cannot just outrightly deny our cliche, यानी कि our perspectives, या फिर not our but the universes or the world's क्या कहते हैं stereotypes about this old age. यानी कि if you want to deny it, you have to uh, completely justify and provide proper and suitable explanations for your counter claims. Okay, that is something which the speaker would be doing in the coming stanza, which is it is to spend long days and not once feel that we were ever young. It is to add immured in the hot prison of the present, month to month with very pain. So after two stanzas explaining what old age isn't like, lines 21 till 25, they begin to explain what it is actually like. Okay, so once again, anaphora of it lends a logical list like structure to the speaker's claim. It is to spend long days, it is to add immune. Okay, so according to the speaker, old age means going days at a time without feeling that we were ever young at all. Yani कि in the old age you will be so much surrounded with so much issues and problems that you won't even remember that you were ever young. So it is as though youth has become a vanished dream. So the previous stanza claimed that old people do not get fearfully nostalgic. That's what we were talking about actually. And these lines explain why. One cannot be nostalgic for events that no longer seem real. अब तो वो चीजें हाथ में आ ही नहीं सकती. ऐसा लग ही नहीं रहा कि हम कभी जवान थे. यानी कि ऐसा क्यों आ रही है सोच? Because now whatever you are going through, the pains, the difficulties that you're going through right now, it makes us feel that हम तो कभी जवान थे ही नहीं, थे ही नहीं, थे ही नहीं. Okay, so when if the feeling is that हम तो ऐसे कभी थे ही नहीं, तो nostalgic कैसे होगी? But that is not all. The speaker elaborates to grow old is to add month to month with very pain while remaining immured, yani कि while remaining confined in the hot prison of the present. The translation of it would be that growing old means feeling trapped in a metaphorical jail cell of fatigue and pain. One can spend months in that state, yet lose all sense of the passage of time because pain keeps the mind focused so sharply on the present that you won't even think about the past. हाँ उस गम से परेशानी से दुख से और दर्द से निजात मिलेगी तो the person is going to think about the past ना. So no wonder the elderly don't get bogged down in nostalgia according to the speaker. They are too busy struggling to get through each day. It is to suffer this and feel but half and feebly what we feel. Deep in our hidden heart festers the dull remembrance of a change, but no emotion, none. These lines 26 to 30 they pile on more bad news about growing old. Previously, the speaker has claimed that the the very pain of old age focuses the mind on the present, so it doesn't leave room for weeping about nostalgia. So now the speaker adds a further twist. Old age means suffering this pain yet feeling but half and feebly what we feel. Kya matlab? In other words, it is a painful experience rather than a nostalgic and pleasant one, but even the pain is dulled due to bodily deterioration. Yani कि the elderly suffer, but they are only partially and weakly aware of their suffering. Okay, so here the speaker seems to be describing advanced old age, which can bring dementia and other forms of mental decline. Obviously, in these kind of decline, Who would be nostalgic about the past जब past उसको याद ही नहीं होगा. Deep in our hidden heart festers the dull remembrance of a change, but no emotion, none. So the change from youth to age, in other words, becomes a hazy memory, a dull remembrance. That memory metaphorically festers like an untreated wound in our heart. So, on some deep psychological level, the loss of youth causes continuing pain, perhaps even a festering resentment toward the universe. But by the time this happens, our faculties have already dulled to the point where we feel no conscious emotion at all. There is a cruel irony over here at work. Advanced old age not only deprives us of our looks, strength, mental faculties, and etc., but it also deprives us even of the capacity to mourn or rage at our loss. Oof. It is last stage of all, when we are frozen up within and quite the phantom of ourselves, to hear the world applaud the hollow ghost which blame the living man. Okay, so these lines 31 till 35, they describe the final phase of old age, the last stage of all. This phrase is a subtle Shakespearean allusion. In the classic All the World's a Stage speech from Shakespeare's As You Like It. Shakespeare's drama, everybody knows As You Like It. And in that drama, there is a line which says, All the world is a stage. Okay. This verse has been taken from that play. Okay. And what is the illusion? That this is the last stage of all. Because in that, what would she say? It is actually a kind of a poem in the middle of a drama. Okay, uttered by one of its characters. Okay, and in that poem, the speaker counts out different stages of life. Okay, and he's alluding from those stages of life that this is the last stage of life that I'm going to be talking about. Okay, and this is the same last stage of life present in that drama as well. What is it? It is the last stage of all. Okay, so advanced old age, in other words, is a kind of terrible second child, a state of confusion, weakness, and radically limited capabilities. Ultimately, it becomes a psychological oblivion, an essentially unconscious state, followed by the permanent oblivion of death. The last stanza of Growing Old describes a similar scenario. According to the speaker, advanced old age turns us into a mere phantom of ourselves, yani कि a hollow ghost that has totally frozen up within. These descriptions evoke a kind of death in life. Yani कि in this last stage of existence, the speaker claims, we witness a final bitter irony. We hear the world applaud the hollow ghost that we have become. Okay, and even though it blamed or criticized the living man we used to be, yani ke the world who used to blame and criticize this living man when this was a man who used to live, yani ke he's trying to suggest that in this stage of life he's not even living, he is a ghost now. Okay, he's a ghost. And these people who used to criticize him and blame this person when he was a living man, because now he's not a living man, he's a hollow ghost. They are now actually applauding him. So, in other words, we receive hypocritical praise from people who used to scorn us. So, this poem warns that some version of this depressing scenario awaits everyone who reaches old age. Okay. With this, we're going to move on to the themes. The first theme happens to be aging, decline, and loss. Now, Matthew Arnold's Growing Old is just what its title suggests. It is a reflection on aging. As the poem speaker grows older, he reports that all the worst stereotypes about aging are true, but that all the positive ones are also false. Not only the stereotypes are true, the worst stereotypes of aging are true, but the some of the few positive ones are also false. Okay, so for example, aging does take away one's strength, beauty, and mobility, but it doesn't bring a mellow or calmness in return. Nor does it bring the prophetic insight or the comforts of nostalgia. Instead, it brings a cruel combination of physical pain and emotional numbness. The poem offers no reassurance at all, but warns aging readers to prepare for a long struggle. For years, that will be anything but golden. The second one would be reputation and legacy. So growing old mentions only one apparent upside of old age. And even this turns out to be a bitterly ironic drawback. According to the speaker, when we have grown so old that we feel like hollow ghosts of our former selves, people around us start to praise our achievements. But this praise is hypocritical and insincere, the speaker implies, because it is the opposite of what the same people used to say about us. So, thus, the speaker denies older people even the comfort of believing that they will be proud legacies behind. Okay, now that they will leave proud legacies behind. Even the highest reputations, the poem suggests, are themselves hollow and liable to change from one moment to the next. With this, we're going to move on to the poetic devices and figurative language present in the poem. We've already gone through repetition, we've already talked about rhetorical questions, allusions has been talked about, okay, caesura, metaphor, okay, now all of these have already been highlighted while the poem was being explained. Now, let us talk about form, even though we have talked about form. Form over here is blank verse, yani कि it is unrhymed iambic pentameter which features alternating lines of iambic trimeter and iambic pentameter. It has no rhyme scheme. It no rhymes at all. Yani कि एक तो there is no rhyme scheme also, and there are no internal rhymes as well. So its style sounds fairly plain, very simple, very clear, in keeping with its spirit of exact truth telling. And anyway, when you want to be blunt and when you want to simply tell the exact truth, there won't be any style in that language. It's going to be very plain, very simple. Meter we've talked about, it is alternating between iambic trimeter to iambic pentameter. Rhyme scheme, the poem has no rhyme scheme or rhyming of any kind. So in English poetry, the use of meter without relative rhyme is normally uncommon, yani कि blank verse in which there is meter but not rhyme. Okay, outside of the old fashioned verse, it was actually this blank verse was the verse of the Shakespeare in which there weren't any rhymes, but the verses were iambic, yani कि they had a proper and suitable meter. That was known as blank verse. Shakespeare's most dramas also are written in blank verse, yani कि it is rhythmic, but it is without any rhyme. So in today's in normal English poetry, it is not that much common. Okay, so the absence of rhyme here makes the language sound stark and plain, as it has already been suggested, as if the poet has little interest in appealing to the readers here. He doesn't want to use very sparkling language. He doesn't want the to appeal anything to the ears of the reader. In other words, it fits the poem's mission. And what is the poem's mission? To tell blunt and harsh truths about aging. Okay, so the literary context. Mathew Arnold, who was born in 1822 and died in 1888, was one of the most distinguished poets and critics of England's Victorian era. Growing Old appears in his 1867 collection, New Poems, which also includes his famous Dover Beach. Like Dover Beach, it offers a bitterly pessimistic view of life, which it refuses to sugarcoat in any way. So this is his literary context. Same kinds of themes are present in his uh, one of the most famous poems written by him, that is the Dover Beach. Historical context. The 19th century, which encompassed most of the UK's Victorian era, that was between 1837 and 1901, profoundly changed the way humanity saw its place in the world. Advances in evolutionary biology, including Charles Darwin's monumental 1859 study on the origin of species, challenged the idea that humanity occupies the center of divinely created universe, and it challenged the idea that people used to think that we are the center of the universe. Okay, so those technologies, those revolutionary ideas, they challenge humanity being the center of the divinely created universe. Okay. So in short, Matthew Arnold was writing in a time of large scale readjustment and anxiety, because people were saying, "Bhai, dunya to this is not that divine world or universe that you're living in." Okay, that the idea of divinity and connection with the religion and the God that was given to us, given to the people of that age by the church, and the extra advancement in sciences, it completely rejected that. So there was a lot of anxiety and resentment in the people. So growing old doesn't refer to any of the historical and scientific developments or to any topical events that were going on in that time. But the poem's anxious pessimism may partly reflect the spirit of its time. Okay, so with this, we are going to end this lesson. I hope you understood everything. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask.